Alright guys, so I'm just making this video because I was watching the Amir Khan interview on Fight Hype where he talks about the Kell Brook fight. He's basically giving his opinion on that. And, the video is a little bit over 3 minutes long. By the end of this video, I was really just physically sick watching this stuff because just the level of delusion that this man has really shown me at this level now proves to me that he's more delusional than I actually thought he ever could be. Now, I didn't say he's more delusional than I thought he was. I'm saying he's more delusional than I ever thought he could be. So this takes the past, present, and the future into consideration. Amir Khan, what a disgrace. I mean, that's really all you have to say. What a disgrace. This is an individual who in this video, and this is an individual who goes by the name of Amir Khan, who actually says in this video that he is, fighting world-class opponents. He actually accuses Kell Brook of picking and choosing his opponents. All you have to do is look at the last 4 opponents that Amir Khan has actually faced. So really you're talking about Devon Alexander, which means you're actually talking about a soft touch. That's what you're talking about. This is a dude who circles in the ring. What I mean by that is this is somebody who followed Amir Khan in a circle. This is really what he did. He had no understanding of how to cut the ring, and he can't punch. That's really who this guy was. When you say the name Devon Alexander, you're talking about somebody who walks in circles. That's what you're talking about. And I mean no offense to Devon Alexander. All I'm saying is you're very, very suspect on that night versus Amir Khan. That's all I'm saying. You follow this guy around the ring. The next opponent you have to look for is Luis Collazo. This is an individual who came into the ring and put his hands behind his back and then was dropped successfully. That's what you mean when you say Luis Collazo. Again, no offense to this man because he is a good fighter. But what I'm saying is you acted a clown when you faced Amir Khan. Then you have Julio Diaz. Now, Amir Khan says he fights world-class opponents. You're talking about Julio Diaz. And he was down on the canvas in the 4th round versus Julio Diaz. That's Julio Diaz. Put Amir Khan on the canvas in the 4th round. Yes, he goes on to win the fight. But when you're being dropped to the canvas in the 4th round by Julio Diaz, and then you want to mention your name with Mayweather and Pacquiao, you really just begin to come across as just somebody who is becoming insane. That's what you sound like. Because to my recollection, you were actually dropped by Julio Diaz. Now you're talking about you want to put your name with these A-level opponents. Okay, you shouldn't have problems with a guy like Julio Diaz. Okay, and you're talking about fighting world-class opponents. Unbelievable. And then you have a guy like Carlos Molina on his resume. Now, these are all respectable guys. But what I'm saying is none of these people are world-class opponents. So don't be going on, these are your last 4 opponents. So don't be going on Fight Hype interviews and saying that you're facing world-class opposition because none of these people are A-level world-class opposition. So everything you're saying about Kell Brook can really be said about you as well. When you speak about Amir Khan, you're really talking about somebody who has never avenged any of his losses. Because may I remind you that Danny Garcia almost took this boy's head off. He almost beheaded Amir Khan, if you remember this. Okay, so let's remember that this was a 12-round fight. Danny Garcia had this boy out of the ring in 4 rounds. That when you mention the name Amir Khan, that's the guy Danny Garcia had outside the ring in 4 rounds. He couldn't make 5. Dude couldn't make 5 rounds with Danny Garcia. And I'm not saying Danny Swift Garcia is a bad fighter. What I'm saying is you couldn't go 5 rounds with this man. You're talking about Floyd Mayweather. You're talking about Manny Pacquiao. You couldn't go 5 rounds with Danny Garcia. Shit is just comedy to me, man. This dude faced Lamont Peterson, and he lost. When you talk about Amir Khan, you're talking about a guy who has never avenged any of his losses. Why won't he do a rematch? What does that say about somebody when this person will not avenge any of his losses? He's never avenged any of his losses. This is unbelievable and absolutely remarkable. He has never avenged any of his losses. That is an impossibility for me to imagine in the previous era, or even in the modern era. I don't know too many fighters in the modern era who lose and don't wish to get a rematch. Adrian Broner, all he talks about is rematch with Elchino Maidana. Amir Khan is comfortable walking around here, losing to all these guys, and he's never avenged any of his losses. Any of his 3 losses, he's never avenged any of them. Amir Khan. That is an impossibility in my understanding of boxing. The potentiality of that happening with a guy like Muhammad Ali or a guy like Sugar Ray Leonard or any of these old-time greats or Sugar Ray Robinson, that is just an impossibility. But the thing is, I shouldn't even be mentioning those people's names when I mention a name like Amir Khan. Because that's the fact is these people are from 2 different worlds. That's why. That's why Amir Khan is happy losing to all these people, and he never avenges a single loss. That right there, I've already shut down this opinion that he fights world-class opponents. His last 4 opponents have been a light touch, Devin Alexander. This is a man who follows you in circles. Luis Collazo, clowning. Julio Diaz, dropped him in the 4th round. And Carlos Molina. He ain't fighting no world-class opponents. So that's delusion right there. That's just the face of delusion. Then now I've brought out the fact that this individual has never avenged any of his losses. To me, that is an impossibility. That doesn't compute with my understanding of boxing. That's savage behavior from Amir Khan. You have to avenge your losses. At least you have to try to. You haven't even tried to. The next thing I want to take, which I just found very offensive, which is one of the things that made me physically sick watching this guy's video, is you talking about Kell Brook picks and chooses his opponents. The only problem with what you just said, Amir Khan, is that Kell Brook is the IBF welterweight champion. If you know anything about boxing, you know that the IBF sanctioning body forces you to fight your mandatories, or they strip you of your IBF title. So actually, Kell Brook was not picking and choosing. He was actually being a very smart person and a smart businessman, because he was taking his mandatory out of the equation early, which is a smart thing to do. So that right there is a problem with what Amir Khan is saying about picking and choosing opponents. Just how frightened are you of Kell Brook? That's really just the question. And I guess the next question is, how does it feel to be the Leo Santa Cruz of the welterweight division? I think that's the next question. See, these are just questions. These are just good questions that I have. I mean, there's all these other questions, but these are my questions, really. How frightened are you of Kell Brook? That's the first one. The second one is, how does it feel to actually be the physical embodiment of the Leo Santa Cruz of the welterweight division? Now, if those are too big, I'm going to slow it down for Amir Khan. Why are you frightened of Kell Brook? Do you understand that you are running away from a chance to be the unified welterweight champion? Because if you beat Kell Brook and you gain the IBF title, and you fight the winner of Mayweather versus Pacquiao, you put yourself in a class which solidifies your legacy if you actually become the unified welterweight champion. That's something that you're actually physically running away from. That's something you're physically moving away from. So that's why I have to ask you, why are you frightened of Kell Brook? That's a valid question. The second question was, how does it feel to be the physical embodiment of Leo Santa Cruz at welterweight? The reason why I'm asking this question is because it's obvious that you're ducking Kell Brook. That's now become extremely obvious. Previously, it was just obvious. Now it's extremely obvious that you're ducking Kell Brook. It's also disgraceful. So those of you out there who are congressmen and those of you who display Khan-seated behaviors need to begin to look at this individual and actually call Amir Khan what he is, which is a coward. You see, the thing that is so terrifying about the mental state of Amir Khan is that this individual actually thinks his name is up there with Floyd and Manny Pacquiao. This is terrifying information, because you're looking at somebody who is displaying psychopathic and schizophrenic behaviors, and it looks like he's losing the precious gift of sanity. That's what it looks like. We have to understand that sanity is a very, very precious commodity, and it looks like Amir Khan is losing his sanity, because he's saying things like he's in there with the upper echelon of boxing, and he's nowhere close to that, situation. You always have an excuse. You always have an excuse. Once again, for those of you who are tuning in, we're talking about Amir Khan. So just to remind you who this individual actually is, this is somebody who, of course, was damn near decapitated by Danny Garcia in less than 5 rounds. He was taken to the Tower of London. He was beheaded. That's what happened. We saw the left hook. Everybody saw this. So, of course, we know every time Amir Khan has been taken to the Tower of London, he didn't really enjoy the experience. What that means is every time his chin was actually physically touched, he didn't enjoy that experience. We've seen his legs wobbled so many times. We've seen his legs wobble so many times. So we know he doesn't like being touched. And I think this dude is afraid that Kell Brook is going to touch him and that his legs are going to wobble like we've seen so many times. And of course, he's not going to get that fight with Mayweather because he's looking for a paycheck. This is a guy who has the opportunity to fight the winner of Mayweather Pacquiao. And if he has the IBF title, he has, if he beats Kell Brook, he has the opportunity to then go on to unify the welterweight division. But because he has that Leo Santa Cruz bloodline, he doesn't want to get involved with Kell Brook. He doesn't want any problems with Kell Brook. So it's excuse after excuse after excuse. And when you actually watch this interview, you realize that actually the mind of Amir Khan must be an absolutely frightening place. You look at this individual and you think, can anybody pay you to say the things this man is saying? Could I pay you? Or could anybody give you financial compensation just to say the things that Amir Khan is saying. Because I would turn the money down based on my pride, just based on how I think everybody's going to think I'm a clown. You know, this Amir Khan is saying things which the most ambitious clown would be embarrassed to say. And he's just saying these things and it's just rolling off his tongue. And it's like, are you cross-checking with your critical faculties what you're actually saying? May I remind you that this individual in the interview says nobody in America knows who Kell Brook is and that he can walk the streets without any problem. Amir Khan is not even the most famous person with his own name. Amir Khan is not even the most famous person with his own name. I mean, can you believe what I'm saying? It doesn't get any worse than this. It doesn't get any worse than this. Amir Khan is not even the most famous person with his own name. Is people out here who have the same name as you, who are more famous than you, and you're talking about you can't walk the streets of America. This dude is so delusional, so delusional. You're talking about should have been spending nights in psychiatric wards. It's not even about taking him under the cover of darkness to a psychiatric institution. Should have been spent nights in a psychiatric institution. And you know, nobody has to know about this because he can be transferred under the cover of darkness. Like I always say, this is a person who should have been transferred under the cover of darkness to a psychiatric institution. I'm not making fun of Amir Khan. I'm telling you that I'm genuinely concerned for one of my fellow countrymen who is now physically embarrassing himself on the world stage. You're not even the most famous person with your own name. You're so famous. You know, he's not even the most famous person with his own name, but he's so famous. And the thing about it is, it's just stupidity anyway, because the fight between yourself and Kell Brook is going to happen in England. He knows as well as I do, as well as you do watching this video right now, that is a super fight in the UK. It's going to happen in Wembley. It's not going to happen in the States. It's going to happen in London, in Wembley. Everybody in the UK knows who Kell Brook is, and everybody knows who Amir Khan is. So we know the fight is a mega fight in the UK. Who cares about whether they know who Kell Brook is in the States? That's irrelevant to the point. This is a mega fight in the UK. Stop making excuses. Let me know what you think about this cowardly behavior. This is the physical embodiment of Leo Santa Cruz in the welterweight division. We have to start saying this now. We have to make this known. What he's doing isn't fly. This is not something we can condone. This dude is throwing up excuses every single day. He needs to fight Kell Brook. Kell Brook stands in the way between himself and all these big fights that he's looking for. He's going to have to fight Kell Brook because he has no other options. Right now, it just looks like he's making excuses. Let me know what you think. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.
Niggas stick around, that'll lift them up or sit them down. Niggas rapping insane, but they really twat. Homie, we really hot, name rank, A block. Slang cane, chain hang, heavy bop. Maintain, things ain't millies pop.